Hi, welcome to the new Hoston 5-foot 44-ton hydraulic press brake equipped with E21 programmable controller. This video is for setup and maintenance of this machine upon arriving to your facility. Please note that on this machine is provided with lifting lugs, a set in the front, left and right. And then we also recommend you use a heavy-duty shackle with the holes in the back, left and right, to put your chains through. This machine weighs approximately 6,000 pounds, so we recommend that you use industrial certified chains, 8,000 pound capacity minimum, one set in the front, one set in the back. By putting this through, you'll be able to lift the machine overhead. It will hang perfectly straight. Please note, lifting this machine from the bottom will void all warranties. Going next, looking at the bottom of the machine, we are going to see that it's equipped with leveling bolts, front and left, right and back, and also with anchor holes on each side as well. This machine must be properly leveled and anchored to the floor before usage. The size of the anchors, these are approximately 1-inch holes, and you will need to sink them down into your floor based upon your floor thickness. Do not operate or bend any material in this machine without it being precision leveled and anchored to the floor. This may void all the warranties if not properly done. Please note next the lubrication schedule on the side of the machine. Various areas have to be lubricated: the screw rods, sliding seats, guide rails, eccentric bushings, connecting rods, and worm gears. All of these items must be lubricated at least one time per week, and if heavier usage, every 48 hours. We recommend using a Crimson all-purpose grease. We'll show you some of the lubrication points here in the front. For your torsion bar, you'll see you'll have grease zerks. You can fill those up until the grease purges. Some additional points will be on the inside of the machine. In the back here, it will be grease zerks for the guide rails. Down below, we'll see the ball screws and guide rails. These can be hand greased. Just put some grease on these and kind of work them in with your hand. You may also grease the back gauge area here. It helps with sliding the fingers back and forth when you're changing for different bends. On the back of the machine, we have the hydraulic oil tank. We recommend using a ISO 46 or 68. That will depend upon your climate. Please consult with your hydraulics oil supplier as to your climate, and they will tell you which one of these is the appropriate grade to use. You'll see here on ours, we filled up the sight glass to approximately 80%. Inside the sight glass is also a thermometer, but for oil temperature. But on the sight glass itself, you'll see where oil levels are. 80% is about a pretty good level. You don't want to overfill it, but you don't want to fill it too short either. The hydraulic oil must be changed after the first 100 hours of use using this release spout here. After that, once a year, you must change the oil completely. That means draining the oil, opening up the tanks on the top, cleaning them out, cleaning out the filters, and then putting fresh oil in. We do not recommend that you filter the oil. This machine holds approximately 30 to 35 gallons of hydraulic oil. Next, you'll note on top of the machine we have the pressure gauge. By turning the little release valve, it'll open the pressure gauge. We have preset the pressure of this machine to 2200 psi, and we recommend that you keep this out of the red zone at all times. This machine has been set for optimal performance at this time. On the back of the manifold right here, you'll notice that we have a main hydraulic pressure control valve. This is what's used for setting the overall hydraulic pressure. In the back there's a release screw, and then you can turn the front knob, and we're talking about 1/8 of an inch turns at a time. Very, very gentle turns, slight turns, to adjust the pressure up or down as needed. If you're bending light materials, you may want to decrease the pressure as you don't need the full capacity pressure. But at the heavier materials, we recommend that you leave it at 2200 psi. Next to that, the other valve that may be needed down the road is this check valve right here. This is for adjusting the overall ram speed of the press brake. That's the initial speed when the ram first comes down. We have preset this to optimal levels and does not need to be changed at this time. Over to the right, we have the pressing speed control valve. This control valve here will work with the pressing speed. That's when the ram speed comes down and goes into that slow pressing mode. This changes that speed. Once again, we have preset this to the proper levels and it should not be adjusted at this time. Over to the front of the machine, we have light curtains. This machine is equipped with a left and right sided light curtain. This is a continuous beam that when the machine is in operation mode, crossing this beam will prevent the ram from coming down. These are adjustable left and right for your material thickness. We recommend keeping this just above the thickness of your material. This will prevent any of your operators from getting their hands caught inside the machine at any time. When the ram is coming down and the beam is crossed, the machine will immediately shut off. On the back of the machine, on the right-hand side, you'll notice the control box for the light curtains. This box has been preset. All the adjustments, keys, and switches are set for full automatic operating mode. Changing the mode on this will disable the light curtains. Please note that the machine will not work if the light curtains are disabled. Please note that disabling the light curtains will void all warranties. Moving to the electrical box. Inside the electrical box, we have the inverter drive PLC control, and down below, one of the troubleshooting features is that if the machine is, if the X and Y axes are not changing when programming it, you'll need to open up the box and check this breaker right here. This breaker controls the movement of those two axes and this inverter drive. This can trip when your power is too high for what this machine is rated. This machine is rated for 220 volts, 3-phase power. This is a 10 amp breaker, so if you're pulling in 247 or something like that, and you have a very long cord going to the machine, that might generate too much amperage, and it'll trip this breaker. If this breaker keeps tripping, you need to reduce the amperage and or voltage of this machine. Consistent tripping of this breaker may damage the inverter drive or some of the additional controls, which will not be covered under your warranty. Please note, when opening this electrical box, if the machine is running, you will release the safety switch down here below and the machine will shut off immediately. To restart that, just close the box and you should be ready to go again. Starting up this machine for the first time, once your oil is full, your electrical connections have been connected and everything is set up, and please note that you must use a certified industrial electrician for setting up this machine and wiring it up. If you have any additional questions about the voltages or anything like that, please feel free to give us a call at 386-304-3720 and one of our technicians will assist you. In the back here we have the power on switch. We're going to turn that switch to the power on. We're going to come around the front and turn the ignition key and the machine control screen will begin to light up. Please note that you must release all of the e-stops on the controller and on the foot pedal in order to get the machine to turn on. You'll notice once the machine is turned on that there's a beam light is on the light curtains. When the beam is green, everything's good to go. If I was to put my hand in front of it, you'll notice that beam turns to red. That means it won't work. So coming back to the machine over here, we can put it in the hydraulic on mode. The light will come on and you'll notice that the hydraulics are now running. On the controller we have a jog mode and an automatic mode. When doing all initial setups, when profiling this machine for the first time and making all your initial bends, everything must be done in the jog mode. Please do not use the automatic mode. This may overdrive the punch into the die and break the punch or the die, which is not covered under your warranty. One of the last bits of information for setting up this machine is going to be changing your dies. When changing your dies, this is a multi-way V die and a flat bottom. This table has no T-slot in it, so therefore you must use flat bottom dies or a flat bottom die holder with a T-slot in it. They'll be used for clamping left and right on both sides of the machine. When changing out the die size for your different material thicknesses, you're always going to go with 8 times material thickness or use the provided tonnage chart that we give you as well. So in this particular case, we have selected the die in the front here, which is approximately a 3/4 inch die opening, and this is good for 14 gauge material that we've selected right here. When first beginning to set up a new die change, you're going to loosen both of the clamps left and right and front and back on each side of the machine. This is important so that the die can center itself when putting the punch down. Once you're loosened on both sides, you would then come back to the machine, try and line everything up the best you can. You're going to go to jog only mode, put it in the green go cycle, and just slowly, ever so slowly, bring your punch down. Lining up your punch at all times, making sure that as you're getting closer, you're making sure you're within line. If you're not, you can move it left or right. When you think that you've gotten pretty close, or you're ready to go, you can bring that all the way down and center it into the punch itself. Once your ram is centered inside the die, then you can go back and tighten up your clamps, hand tight only. Don't snug them too much, that can damage or warp the die. So hand tight only on both sides. Then you can release and bring your ram back up and your die is ready to be used. Please note that in this particular example, we have preset the depth knowing that we had to bring it into the die. When you're bending your regular jobs, your ram will not come down all the way because you're air bending. So what you need to do is come over to your controller, put it in the off mode, and go arrow down to your YP. Your YP is where you can make adjustments manually on the depth of how far your punch goes into the machine. The higher the number, the lower the ram goes. The lower the number, the higher the ram stays. So in this particular case, you'll have to adjust it accordingly a few thousandths at a time. And you must always use the jog mode and gently ease it down. Not following these methods could damage the punch or the die, which will not be covered under warranty. Once you've done all that, you can go back to your normal settings or wherever you had it pre-programmed, and off you go with your bending. In this particular case, you can hear the y-axis moving, and you can see it moving as we're heading back to our original depth of bend for our 90-degree bend for 14 gauge. Another thing to note is that when we bring that ram down, and you'll see the ram has now returned higher up and is no longer sunk all the way down in the die. One additional item to note that a lot of people run into is that the ram, if in down position, you cannot change any of the positions. So if you go back into the to the program screen and you want to go program in a particular number, and you punch that in there, and then you go to hit go, you'll see it says out of UDP. That is up dead position. That means your RAM is all the way down and no adjustments can be made. So once you return the RAM up, you'll hear the Y-axis begin to move again. Also on this machine, when setting up, you'll notice you'll have sliding slots and T-slots in the front. These are for your front support arms. They are provided with the machine, along with an initial tool set, a grease gun, some spare O-rings and